This is not a loophole. This is actually a legal exemption. The simplest example I can give where most people have already interacted with a private membership association and didn't know it is a drinking club. Back in the early 1900s, when prohibition ended in the United States, the government, the US government, released their prohibitions, and now we have counties inside of states. Some places are dry, yet you're driving down the street and there's a bar. Well, wait a minute, I thought this county was dry. They're not even giving out liquor licenses. How can there be a bar? Well, Dwan, what happens? You go in and you sign your membership agreement, you pay $1, and now you are changing your status from the general public to private contract, and therefore the government has no jurisdiction there. So private member-to-member agreements can happen. So now the question becomes, how do we do that in Airbnb?
Hey.
Hey everybody, welcome to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I'm your host, Dwan Twyford. I'm America's most sought after real estate investor, and this is the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. It's really fun. We talk about all things related to real estate and investing and your wealth and all the things that you can do to become successful and reach all your dreams of financial freedom. And our motto here at Dwanderful is people before profits. So if that resonates with you, you're at the right place. This is the right time. I'm the right person, and I have an awesome guest who's the right guy. So today it's Thursday. So on Thursdays, we talk to people and we get inside the minds of today's millionaires. And so my guest today is Ed Middlebrooks, and he is our wicked smart man. So Ed, you are the wicked smart man of the day.
Awesome. It's all this cranium I have up here right now. That's why you're saying that.
It's just making you so
wonderful
smart. So what we do, everybody that follows on the regular, we start off and we have a toast. So you're having water. Okay, so cheers to
water.
you. Thank you for being on my show. So cheers, everyone. Get your drink. And then everybody take a deep breath, take a stretch, get everything out of your head, clear your mind, and get ready to have some fun today with me and with Ed. So Ed, what we like to do is I like for you to briefly tell us who you are, how we contact you, and what you do. And then I have a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions and find out how you got to be Ed Middlebrooks of today.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Ed Middlebrooks, and you can reach me via my 360 website at edrocks360.com. That's edrocks360.com. And from there, not only can you download my V card, but you can also see all of the links that I have to the many different areas that I'm in. So I am a real estate investor trained by many of the greatest industry investors in the world today that we know of. I'm a big time, you call it creative financing guy. I'm not a fix and flipper. I like owner financing. I like lease options. I know I'm speaking to a crowd here that understands this because the Dwanderful lady who was here on this podcast with me, she knows all about these subjects. However, I do something a little bit different. One of the things that I do is I like to analyze properties for short-term rentals, think Airbnb and VRBO. And what I do with those is I use some creative strategies. I get into arbitrage with none of my own money, no banks and no credit. And in our industry today, we have this thing going on. I'm sure many of you who are in real estate investing have heard that there's a lot of government regulations happening surrounding short-term rentals. So we have taken a look at a number of industries outside of short-term rentals and found out, well, when the government interferes, what do these other industries do? And we actually found a solution to that problem of being litigated out of business. And we use something called private membership association.
Okay, we're gonna have to lead up to that because I feel like you're gonna give it away right here. So I want to lead up to, but you can say the word private what?
Private membership association.
I'm thinking I already like the way this sounds. Okay, private membership association. So can't give away all the whole beans in the first one. So Ed
No.
and edrocks360.com. And I love the fact that you're in the creative financing space because I feel like there are not enough good investors in the creative financing space.
Yes.
Don't you
Yeah.
think?
In fact, there's too many people who learn some strategies that, they're not creative in nature. They're personally guaranteeing. There's a lot of people out there who are saying some things that just really aren't true. And so in our space, you act with ethics, you act with integrity, and we can actually make offers on houses that are realistic and higher. Just by doing what the banks do, the way that banks earn money, we can put that money into the pocket of our sellers. So it's really, really lucrative for them to do it this way.
I like that. So, and you're in short-term rental, but you're not Airbnb.
I am in an Airbnb, but I'm also a verboer. I've got booking.com and I have direct bookings as well. So we just call it short-term rentals because really it has to do with how many nights somebody's staying there. It's not a whole year lease. It's a few nights here, a few nights there.
Yep, no. I love short-term rentals. Okay, so I am going to backtrack to that. So you were saying that the government comes in because this is so true. It's like the governments are trying to make people be I also word like have a license to be flippers and wholesalers, and they're
Right.
trying to make people have licenses for like I feel like anytime investors make money, the government does try to throw some kind of a loophole in there. So I do want you to talk about that loophole, but I just want to get just say it for a second. So the short term, so everybody I think in the world has heard of the Airbnbs and the Verbos and stuff at this point. And those are again, like you said, people that just lease for short days here, days there, days here. So the government has encroached on everybody's. So
Yeah, they really have.
So tell me about this private membership association because it sounds like you found a legal loophole.
It's even better than that. A loophole is saying the law that's written says that you can't do short-term rentals with any property with a red front door. And a loophole would be like saying, well, we have a blue front door, therefore that law doesn't apply to us and you can continue to operate. Well, this is not a loophole. This is actually a legal exemption granted to us by the US Constitution. And I like to explain it like this because I find that this resonates with most people. Everybody's skeptical of the structure of this until I just explain it, something that they're used to.
Because this is all new to me. I don't know about this. I'm learning this right here with everybody else. I don't know about this legal exemption, so I'm like, I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing to remember is that litigators are actually writing rules that restrict businesses' ability to interact with the general public, providing products and services. They're in their position to keep the general public safe. Remember, the term here is private, not public, membership association. So what that means is you have to be a member. And we have our First Amendment constitutional right of association, and we're completely private. When you're private, you basically, what you say there is, government, you have no jurisdiction here. We're private contract. We're individual members standing upon our constitutional rights to association, and we can print, read, speak, listen to, share any knowledge, information, books, articles, products, services that we see fit with people who are able to print, read, speak, talk about, associate with. This is everything from freedom of religion to your freedom to protest. The Supreme Court has already ruled, and we have over 70 Supreme Court decisions upholding our right to associate. And I was saying I was going to explain it very simply. The simplest example I can give where most people have already interacted with a private membership association and didn't know it is a drinking club. A drinking club. Back in the early 1900s, when prohibition ended in the United States, the government, the US government, released their prohibitions, and now we have counties inside of states in Utah, and I think there's even Nevada, there's Texas, North Carolina. Some places are dry, yet you're driving down the street and there's a bar. Well, wait a minute, I thought this county was dry. They're not even giving out liquor licenses. How can there be a bar? Well, Dwan, what happens? You go in and you sign your membership agreement, you pay $1, and now you are changing your status from the general public to private contract, and therefore the jurisdiction has, or the government has no jurisdiction there. So private member-to-member agreements can happen. So now the question becomes, how do we do that in Airbnb?
That is so great. Yeah, you know what? It's so funny. My family is from Crossville, Tennessee, which is Cumberland County, which still to this day is a dry county. They have like a state liquor store. And I remember back in my 20s, like, me and my cousins, like, we want to go drink and there's nowhere to go. And they opened up a club. I still remember this, called Lake Tansy. And if you went there and bought a membership, you could drink all you wanted. I was like, this is amazing. So, but I didn't know like what that was. I just knew if I went over to the Lake Tansy and I paid, I don't know, $50, we could drink and come in and out, little membership cards. And this was all the way back in my 20s. So I didn't even understand what that was, but clearly they did. So.
Yeah, and your rights of private membership are so strong, and people don't realize this. Like, you go to a country club and you've got to sign up for a membership to use the facilities. But did you know that in a country club, if it's private and it's a membership and it's an association, it's a country club, what happens now is you actually have to get permission to even go into that facility because it's controlled in private membership. In fact, even the police have to ask for permission to come onto a property that is controlled by a private membership association.
Really?
And the funny thing is, Dwan, this is really nothing new. This has been around since even since before the Constitution. And now the Constitution gives us our rights of association, and the entire United States was a part of contract or common law up until the late 1800s, when, not to get too geeky here, but I love this stuff. John D. Rockefeller was helping Ulysses S. Grant at the end of the Civil War. The United States was bankrupt, and so they set up a legislative entity, and they incorporated the United States and created the IRS, because the IRS can't tax anything that it doesn't own. So we had to have this whole corporation set up. And so everybody's trained, businesses are trained to create LLCs, S Corps, and C Corps, and operate within these legislative entities by offering products and services to the general public. That is where, yes, 100%, the government has the right to dictate what you can and can't do, where you can and can't do it, what you can and can't say. They can tell that doctor that you're not allowed to, prescribe hydroxychloroquine to cure COVID. They can say whatever, they can tell you can or can't say whatever you want. In private contract, all of that is gone.
So I already love this so much. I can't tell you how much I love talking about this, because I guess unless it falls into like my own spectrum of what I'm doing with real estate investing, I didn't even realize that the short-term rentals were, I hear people tell me, because I don't have any. So probably because I don't have any, I'm not like up on all the things happening on the short-term rentals. But I've had other people say like, oh, they're cracking down, they're making it difficult, they're doing this, they're doing that, doing that. So yeah, the private membership association is like, it's like the perfect way to get around, because the government wants to control us, and I can't even get up on the political thing. The government wants to control us in every single aspect of our lives.
Yes, they do.
Oh my God. I could talk for 2 years about all the crap the government does. So you're an Airbnb guy, and there's 10 other people that are also Airbnb people, or just you. How do you go about creating a private membership that allows, is it you, or do you have a group of people? Like, how do you guys create that to be able to legally?
So I'm the trustee of my private membership association, which is called the Prosperity Club. And so what I do is, as opposed to, I can still put my properties today until they tell me no for some reason. I can put my properties up on Airbnb, because here's what I do. In my listing, I actually put members only. Maybe I should come up with a members only jacket specific to my PMA, right, Dwan? I'll do that, and I'll send you one the day that I do that.
I had a members only jacket back in the day, so I'm that old.
I just age myself. Well, so anyway, I put membership only, membership required. And so what happens is people ask me, Ed, what is this PMA thing about? These are my guests who want to stay places. They'll book with me. And it's real simple. I'm actually, if you think about the PMA itself, not only are we operating under our own rules outside of government interference. But the PMA does something for us that Airbnb and VRBO and these other places, these other platforms haven't been able to figure out. How to stop the general public from being scammers and horrible guests, and how to stop horrible hosts, so we have a quality of standard. If you want to join my private membership association as a host at the host level, you have to agree to abide by our way of doing things. You have to agree to abide by our quality of services, that you're going to have a certain type of property at a certain level. And we're not going to allow just any old property into our PMA. Oh, no, no, no. And our guests are following Florida law. And this is happening in a lot of places. We do sex trafficking information. We teach our hosts about sex trafficking because it's actually a requirement in the state of Florida. So anybody who's listening to the Dwanderful podcast here, if you have an Airbnb in the state of Florida and you have not gone through sex trafficking certification, which is a free online video, you're actually not in compliance. You can get fined, daily fines, very, very heavily. So you have to do that. We do a sex offender registry check, a criminal history background check, and we have a blacklist that's all done through our provider. Once a potential member clears those checks, we send them the agreement that legally changes their status from member of the general public to member of the private domain. And at that point, they can now utilize any property under the control of the association. And they can use it, but
that's so much checking on people. I love that. I would feel safe staying at a place like that.
Of course you would. And that's the idea, right? Our members want the best, and our hosts want to provide great services. Our hosts are not just in it for the money. They're not throwing in these cheap places that they're not maintaining. Our members do not walk into trash properties. That's not how this goes.
Yeah.
So if that happens, we can post out and we can kick guests out, and now they don't have any of the protections that we offer.
Nice. Okay, so you guys operate in Florida. So do you operate this private member association nationwide?
Nationwide and in Puerto Rico.
Ooh, okay. And so you run it. So I was trying to figure out what kind of questions I want to ask. So you're the president, and then all these.
I'm the trustee.
You're the trustee. That's right. I'm sorry. Trustee. I wrote down president, trustee. I'm going to make sure at the end, I like to loop back and kind of summarize some of my notes and see if I got it right. Okay. So you're the trustee. Sure. So then people from anywhere around the country can say, hey, I want to be part of Ed's thing. And they apply. So they can have Airbnbs anywhere in the country and Puerto Rico. They do the application. You do the checks. You do the stuff. And then they are now a member. And then what about the people the guests that stay there? Is there some kind of system or filtering or qualification for people that are staying there?
Yes. So the people who are staying there are the ones who go through the background checks. I mean, the hosts do as well, the individual hosts. But here's the beauty thing, Dwan, the U.S. Supreme Court actually ruled that your LLC or your S Corp or your C Corp is treated like its own entity, like its own person. And so I know you're going to ask this question, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to answer it before you even ask it. Your LLC can join a private membership association and have all the rights and privileges that association would grant to the individual, to the private individual. You can actually do that with your LLC.
So all these people that have rentals all around the country that have all of them in LLCs or whatever they have them in, that can also join. Now, how do you find, because this is like new to me. So this is why I really like it when I get something that I'm not real familiar with. So I'm trying to think, like, if I was new, which this is new to me. So I always tell people, like, listen, I've been investing for 30 years. I certainly don't know everything. That's why I have great guests come on to help me learn more things too. So I have rentals in Iowa. How do I find out about you to be a part of this more exclusive Airbnb club? Because I want to have like the best of everything. How do I find you?
Sure. So you go to hostingrights.us. It's like Airbnb hosts. It's called hostingrights.us. And we're going to show you that your rights are and have always been intact for you to be able to run your short-term rental business. And the beauty of this whole thing is it's really not even about skirting laws or any of that type of stuff. I mean, I focus on that because that's the hot topic of today that brings people in. But
Yeah,
the
it is.
association itself is really about providing great investment advice, products and services. After all, it's not called the skirt the government club. It's called the prosperity club. And the reason for that is because we use advanced strategies like owner financing, like sandwich lease options. We teach how to use trust structure like you've never encountered before using our elite spendthrift trust and the 5 pillars that are there. We show our members how to create compounded interest and become their own banks and how to grow their portfolios into more properties. And we do it inside of this club where things are safe because people want to become a member of this type of a club. That's what we offer.
I know so many people that are actually group leaders, RIA group leaders, that are always complaining about their Airbnbs. And I'm going to have to make sure they all know about you. So I'm feeling like
Yeah,
this is sort of like, this is like a solution to people that are having issues with tenants or the neighborhood is like, we don't want you to Airbnb this house anymore. Or because even sometimes it's just the neighborhoods
yeah.
and the
And
HOAs.
as members, we want to use our judgment, right? I mean, if our short-term rental is causing a problem to the neighborhood, then really a couple things are true there, right? Either one, you're not being a very good host and people have a lot to complain about, or two, and probably more likely the scenario that the US media, who loves to gain ratings through shock and awe, they found one Airbnb down the street from you that had a party, and now all Airbnbs are just party houses, and that's all they do. And if they come to your area, they're going to ruin your property values, and they're going to take away homes from great families, and blah blah blah. Insert thing to get ratings here. That's what they're going to do. So you're dealing with a neighbor who just has that because they don't know, and it's
I
our
know.
job to either educate or B, decide, maybe this isn't the right area.
No, I agree. We happen to have a house in Florida in Delray Beach that's close to the ocean. So all of our nieces and nephews and kids and like we let a lot of people stay there because we're not there a lot. And so a couple of years ago, my nephew went down there. And so now, and I'm not saying anything about my neighborhood being racist. His wife is African American and she brought her mom, and then Nate is there, and he's like, his head's all shaved, looks just like you, lot like you. And my HOA is like, we've been noticing a lot of coming and going, and are you renting these
Oh,
out? And blah blah blah. And I was like, but you sent me that like 1 week after my nephew was there with black people. And I thought, you know what? That is completely racist. I was like, first of all, I own
yeah.
the home. Those are my family. That's my niece and nephew. Those are my kids, my grandkids. And I let my family stay as much as they want. It's my house and nobody pays rent. But I got a letter like immediately because there was about a 2 month period where like 2 weeks was this person and then this one. And they're just cousins, family, friends. But after Nate and Shanice went down there, I got an official letter. And I was so offended. It's like, first of all, if I want to Airbnb it, I will. But secondly, why you write me letters like that? But it's an HOA and they're really strict. And like, if you don't pressure wash your driveway once a month, you get, a hate letter. I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening right now? So I can
Wait,
imagine
wait, you said it's an HOA? What's an HOA? What does that stand for?
homeowners association,
A homeowner's what?
homeowners association.
Oh, it's an association of homeowners in that neighborhood who band together and have rights of association, and
Yes,
therefore the outside laws that are in the county around them don't apply to them, or perhaps they're legislative in nature, and those laws do apply, but yet that association, if you don't actually mow your lawn, they can put a lien against your house when you don't pay the bill. You mean that kind of an association that
that's
can do
right.
things different around them? Dwan, this answer's been staring you in the face the whole time.
It really has been. It's right. It's like I pay the HOA, I pay my fees, I have people go and visit, and then like last month, we didn't have the driveway pressure wash. I was like, seriously? I said my husband's doing this. We're living in this special living. Why are you guys bothering me about the driveway? Who cares? So you're right. It is a private, and I need to get on the board of the HOA so I can have a little bit of control
Mm,
about all these laws that they're slapping down on us all the time. because they're terrible.
That's right.
I mean, it's nice because it keeps the neighborhood clean. Everyone's yard is
Yep.
beautiful. Everyone's yards are pressure washed. Everyone's roofs are clean. There's no trash. Like, I love all that. But when I'm having my own family and friends come and visit and just stay for free, and I'm getting letters, I am like so offended by that.
Yeah. Well, they don't want short-term rentals in there. They want people who own the property who live there. You know why they don't want it? Because they don't know who they are, and they could be a sex offender. They could be,
Yeah.
they could have a criminal, right? Guess what? In our association, this is why we do these checks, and we do them all third party. Now, there's some things I can talk about, but I'll keep it out of here for things like the IRS. When you have a private social club, they want to make sure you're not opening up that club to just everybody. Like, you have to have restricted access. How do we restrict the access? Background checks, sex offender registry checks.
Yeah.
And we don't do credit checks because I know in the world of entrepreneurs, there are people with terrible credit who are actually fantastic people. That said, that's one check that we don't typically do because, quite frankly, I don't really think, I'm a creative financing kind of guy. So therefore, I don't really care much about credit. So I'm not gonna do that. I care about criminal history and are you good for the community, or are you a danger to the community? That's really what I care about. I actually have a friend of mine who was released from prison, and when I first got started in the world of real estate investing, in one of these seminars, he was sitting next to me. That's where we met. He is a fantastic investor, and it's interesting to see how just becoming a great investor and having fantastic strategies has allowed him to turn his entire life around. I mean, I don't know anything about his past, except when I met him, he was coming back into society and he has just rocked real estate investing. I only know him as an upstanding individual. So even when it comes to things like criminal background checks, what we really want to know is the character and the quality of the people that we're bringing into the association.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.
That's really what we care about.
So let's just loop over for a second. So you do creative financing. So I know you do more
All right.
than Airbnb.
So there's
that was a really good Airbnb lesson for me because I did not know that. And so whenever I have someone come on my show and I learn something that I didn't know, I'm always excited because I tell people all the time, listen, I've been doing this for 33 years. I still don't know everything. There's things happening. I don't know everything. So I'm always excited when it's like,
I don't know everything.
This is new to me. So I'm just like, yay. Okay. Let's talk about your creative financing because I think that is, I feel like that's kind of what you're famous for, at least as far as me knowing you. So tell me about your creative financing.
Okay, so you already know about owner financing lease options. I don't have to tell you any more about that. I'm not doing anything different than I'm sure you're already doing when it comes to those kinds of properties. I contact for sale by owners. If it happens to be listed, I might ask the agent, would you consider taking your commission in payments? And usually they all say no, but hey, time and circumstances changes everything. So let's talk about short-term rentals and how private lending comes in with short-term rentals. Well, of course, if I'm buying a house on owner financing, I'm going to analyze the short-term rental possibilities. If I don't like what I see there, I'll move it over to a lease option, or I might look at, say, a novation deal, or we'll look at just wholesaling the thing off. Who knows, right? Who knows? Sky's the limit.
Subject to? Do you do all that?
Oh, of course. Now, I will tell you, actually, I'm going to tell you, no, I don't do subject to. And the reason I say I don't do subject to is because even in subject to, I'm buying it on a wrap. Even though technically it's the same deal, a wraparound mortgage makes my seller have the ability to take back the house if I don't do what I say I'm going to do. So I don't do just subject to, but it's the same deal, but it's done on a wrap just so that the owner has a stake. Okay. This is so that I can see. Okay, but yes, other than all right. So what do I do that's so different? Well, I told you I do short-term rentals with none of your own money, no banks and no credit. Dwan, you buy a house on owner financing, and now you want to short-term rental it. Don't you have to put furniture in there to do that? Don't you have to buy linens and towels and washcloths and soaps and shampoos and creamers and granola bars and K-cups and appliances and all those things? Don't you have to do all that? How are you going to do all that? How are you going to do all that with none of your own money when you're buying on owner financing? Wait a second. I'm going to use private lenders. Now, probably know private lenders as not hard money lenders. I'm not talking about private hard money lenders either. These aren't people who advertise, hey, I've got loans for you. If you see somebody holding up a sign that says I loan money, that's not anybody I'm usually talking to, with one exception. And I'll give a shout out to Easy Street Capital and my good friend Lindsay White. Aside from that, I'm going to tell you that what I do that's so different is I use real private lenders. So I don't talk about arbitrage deals when it comes to private lending to a private lender. And the reason for that is, since I'm not purchasing the property on an arbitrage deal, and arbitrage is where I lease the property from a homeowner and I sublease it on Airbnb. The reason I don't talk about that strategy is because I want the private lender to know that I'm going to put their money in secured by a mortgage, and I'm going to do it in a way where, we're doing an up and up deal. The time comes up where a private lender says, Eddie, I would love to be your private lender, but I only have $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. And if the money is right with this particular lender, I might say, you know what? For you, I do have a program that invests smaller amounts of money. Instead of using $300,000, $400,000 of your money, which you don't have today, to buy a property and rehab it, since I don't have a second position for you to do a rehab, what I do have is the ability for you to invest in an Airbnb cash flowing portfolio. What does that mean? That means it's an unsecured loan to the private lender. Think of it like working capital. They put their money into my LLC, into my business. My business is their money for down payment, last month's rent where required, and all the furniture and all the fixings that are in there. And I give them a double-digit rate of return that they don't find on the stock market, cryptocurrency, or any of that type of stuff. So Dwan, do you have any investments today in CDs, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, any of that type of stuff? And I'm assuming you don't because you know better, but do you have any of those holdings?
No.
Yeah, you know about real estate. Would you say most Americans, working class Americans, have traditional type of investments?
Yes, they all have mutual funds. They have all that. That pays not zero.
Right. And how are their funds doing today? The problem with, or the promise of cryptocurrency, right? I'm going to invest $100 in cryptocurrency and it's going to make me billions. How is their $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 crypto buy? You're already shaking your head no, right?
My sad little crypto
What happened?
Start here, it's like just a big red line.
What happens to their investments when those things dry up? What happens to their money?
They lose their money.
Gone, right?
Gone.
So like anything, you're saying that there's risk involved with any kind of investment, right?
Always.
Is it riskier to invest in a company with working capital? Sure it is. Of course it is. The entire short-term rental industry could be outlawed or something happens. Who knows what happens? Things happen. So I properly explain the risks. I let them know it's unsecured. You don't get a house if the investment doesn't work out. What do they get? They get a double-digit rate of return. And why would they do that? Why would anybody do it? I'll tell you why. Because it's a small amount of money with a high rate of return. And nobody ever invests more money than they're willing to lose.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I tell you, you are just a plethora of information. I never even thought about that you could have, because so many people want to invest, but they don't have, like you said, they don't have $200,000, $300,000. They've got 20 or 30 or 40, and they don't know where. And like a CD is going to give you like what 0.001%, like nothing. And people don't know what to do. They don't know what to do, so they just sit on it.
Right.
That's a really great idea. They can invest.
Oh my gosh.
Your houses, they get paid a monthly thing. That's very genius.
Yeah, we do it 5 years, amortized over 10 with a 5-year balloon typically. Most people are earning about 10%. I have a couple of investors with smaller amounts. If you do a smaller amount of money, I can give you a higher interest rate because I want to make it worthwhile. We're taking $15,000 and over 5 years, almost doubling it for them, right?
Yeah,
so at the end of 5 let me tell you something. As an investor, if at the end of 5 years I haven't taken 15 and turned it into 30 easily for my private lender, I mean,
Yes.
come on. That's what is one lease option deposit, not even. I
Yeah.
have 5 years to do it. Would you do that, Dwan?
I like your
Oh,
it's funny. I gotta tell you, I love this. I did not realize that this is exactly what it is that you do. But honestly, I know so many people that have little bit amounts of money and they have no idea what to do with it. So they just like stick it into a mutual fund or something because they don't know what else to do. And
yeah,
it doesn't
that's
make any
right.
money. Everybody's losing their money like it's like tanking. All the money's tanking for everybody.
Yeah, but we're in real estate.
Yeah,
We're in
for us, it's
short-term
great.
rental. Oh, but you're gonna love this part, Dwan. You're gonna love this part. I write it into my, this is now, if you're listening to this, you need to write this down. In my private lending documents, and I make sure that my lenders know about this, I reserve the right that if my entire portfolio isn't cash flow positive, I reserve the right to not make payments for 90 days without them calling the loan due or anything. Now, here's the other beautiful part of that. Because I know these people, they know me, they like me, they trust me.
Yeah.
If we went beyond 90 days, as long as I'm staying in communication with my private lenders, they're still earning interest through that whole period. And the thing that they like, what's the benefit for them of not taking payments? When it's from an IRA, they're not living on that money anyway.
That's
So
right.
they don't really care.
That's
So
right.
they're not going to call the loan due. And if they do call it due, we'll figure that out. We'll go do some real estate deals and we'll pay it.
Right.
In the meantime, I'm always looking at the fact of I might not have to make payments for a little while we figure some things out. Because sometimes you just need time to figure it out, right?
Yeah,
So that's what we do. And yeah, and so people invest with me and their money is safe. They know that because I'm doing multiple creative style deals that really they're investing in a business that's doing Airbnb arbitrage, and they get to tell their investor buddies when they say, "Oh, I'm in crypto. Oh, I invest in this. What do you invest in? Oh, I invest in Airbnb portfolios. We do short-term rentals." They do none of the work and they get double-digit rates of return. They want that clout. They want to tell that to their investor buddies at the country club. Oh yeah, I'm in rentals all over. Yeah.
It really is brilliant. The whole thing that you structure is brilliant.
Thank you.
It is brilliant. It is brilliant. It's like I feel excited. I have some Airbnb people that are always complaining about it. I'm like, you know what? Y'all need to get with Ed Middlebrooks over here because I have so many people I know that are complaining and just all the things, that, whatever the government does. But yeah, having
That's
just like, I love the private membership. I love the fact that people with smaller amounts of money can invest and get double digits because people with smaller amounts, I think they always feel like they don't have anywhere. They really don't have anywhere to go unless
that's
they're
right.
like hard
And
money lending or something like that. But you gotta have money to do that.
and get this, do you know what happens when you start getting private lenders in and you start building up an Airbnb arbitrage portfolio and all the payments are made through PayPal? You know what happens is you can get a working capital loan directly through PayPal in like less than 3 minutes because they see consistent payments being made into that portfolio. And it's non-recourse, non-personally guaranteed. They do ask for your social security number, not for a credit check, but rather so they can verify your identity that you are the owner of the company, you are who you say you are. But I clicked a button one morning during our down season and I went, I wonder what kind of money I could get from PayPal Working Capital. They asked me like 5 or 6 or 7 questions and I watched the thing spin and it said, "You're approved for $75,000. And I went, what? And click here and it said, "Please wait, funding your loan." Boom, funded. And I got to choose all these different levels, or not. I could do 15, 20, and depending on what level, they were going to hold out of those payments 10, 15, up to 30% for the full 75,000. And the way that works is now whenever Airbnb does a payout, I get a chunk of that payout directed right to them at Airbnb Working Capital. So it's automatically paid.
Yeah.
I'm getting free money. Go do what I want to do, operational loans. I get to build up more of that and then it gets paid off. The thing is in working capital loans, a lot of people get really frustrated by how big the daily or weekly payments are. We're cash flowing to Airbnb that they're automatically met and I end up paying off those loans earlier than the term length that I have anyway. So sometimes I might try and bring that down a little bit, so I'm not quite paying as much to that loan, just for the purpose of A, maintaining better cash flow, and B, making sure that I'm not paying it off too soon. Because as an investor, I want to leverage. I want to do those things. I always want to be using somebody else's money.
Always. So let's just kind of review a little bit. So you can do so Ed Middlebrooks and edrocks360.com for people to find you. You do creative financing. And so you are in the short-term rentals, and you started a private membership association. Honestly, the whole thing is really brilliant. A private membership association.
Yeah.
It's not a legal loophole. It's a legal. I wrote the word down too fast. Oh, so you're
Exemption.
the trustee. Exemptions. I'm sorry. Sometimes I write really fast because I'm trying to write everything and I write too fast. I can't read my writing. And Prosperity Club.
It's a legal exemption.
It's a legal exemption. I put EXPE and then I kind of went off because I was trying to write everything that you were saying. Legal exemption. I love the fact that you have quality of standards. So you check people for, make them learn about sex trafficking. You do background checks for sex trafficking, and if they've been to jail, you have a blacklist. Like I like all of that. I just don't think people realize how much sex trafficking happens like right in just a regular neighborhood. It's like that's that's the thing that breaks my heart more than anything. So you do FSBOs, lease options, and I like the fact that you use real private lenders that can invest like 20 or 30 or some smaller amount into a portfolio, because it sounds big. You're in a short-term rental portfolio and they get double digits back on their money, which is amazing. Amazing. Really, it's amazing. And hostingrights.us. Is hostingrights.us, is that your company?
That is the information marketing side of the PMA. That's where you go in to learn about private membership associations. Okay. Within our PMA, we're offering the ability for other hosts to come alongside of us and join our PMA, as opposed to starting their own. And the reason I don't want them to start their own is because I don't want them to stand out lost in a sea of legalities all by themselves. Yeah. I want them to partner up and let's do it together. There's no reason to go out and start your own PMA.
Yeah,
I mean, you could, it's going to cost you more in legal fees. And just so you know, I do have there's absolutely. And there are other people out there who have their own. I actually met one guy who's been doing it for 30 years. So he heard about me. He wanted to learn more about what I was doing. He's got 1,800 properties all over the United States. Now, he's legislative. I'm non-legislative, so that's a big, big difference. And what that really means is he kind of inherits some of the rules around him. Like he's still doing licensing. He's still registering his country club. And one of the things that that he told me was that, he has had to go to court and he's had to fight this in a couple of places, but he's never actually stepped foot into a courtroom because he just has his attorney send the docs of his private membership association and they go back and forth and voila, they're done. Now he with his 1,800 properties has spent a few $100,000 in legal fees. I would expect that to happen whether or not you had a PMA. Even inside of normal real estate investing, if you're court adverse, if you're afraid of having a lawsuit and litigation, maybe real estate investing isn't right for you, right? Because let's face it, but this guy says to me, he says, "Hey, Ed, I've got 1,800 in my association." And I said, "Okay, well then you're nationwide, right?" He says, "Yes, we're licensed in all 50 states." And I said, "Okay. How many government regulations do you have to submit yourself to?" And he goes, "None." I mean, literally, PFFFFT, none, right? And he hasn't actually had to go there himself. So we put together a team of some of the best attorneys to look over our paperwork. I've got a litigation attorney on our team who understands this. So ultimately, we can preempt any involvement with the local rules and regulations, the compliance officers, by letting them know, when you see these properties, we are private membership. Therefore, if you take a look and you say, oh, you're only 2 nights. Yeah, well, we're not an Airbnb. We utilize Airbnb like a billboard. They're a scheduling platform. They're a payment gateway. That they don't actually own the property. They have nothing to do with what we're doing. What we are doing is our structure, is our paperwork, and we have constitutional authority to do this.
Nice.
So there you go.
So the guy that has 1,800, does he want to work with you?
Yeah, he wants to be a trustee. He loves my model.
I was thinking, if he's got 1,800, he's probably like, I'm going to work with Ed. So, okay, I love it. I love all of it. So let me just, we're just going to, because we're wrapping up on our time here. What's your favorite band of all time?
Oh, that's a tough one. Dream Theater is my favorite band. And that is Dream Theater. I know you weren't expecting that. Dream Theater's been around since 1985. They have what, like 25, 30 studio albums. They write, record, and tour. Oh my gosh. There are more in the booklets. You open it up and they would name like Dream Theater as a big inspiration. Imagine, I'll tell you.
I don't know how I don't know who that is. I know all the bands.
Well, imagine the world's greatest drummer, the world's greatest guitar player, the world's greatest bass player, and the world's greatest keyboard player gets together and gets a amazing vocalist who has a range like you wouldn't believe. And of course, they're aging now, so tissue in the throat. That being said, the band is phenomenal. Dwan, they have a concept album, which is like, it was actually redone in a murder mystery dinner theater one time. And it's called Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. I will tell you, go listen to that. Don't skip the tracks. Start from the very beginning to the very end. It's a play all the way through, and it's amazing.
No, I am. Whenever someone gives me a band I don't know, I actually get on my phone after the call and I listen to it, because I hardly ever don't know who it is. And maybe 3 times in the last couple of years I didn't know, because I really like all music and I try to stay up with all that. So Dream Theater, I love it. Okay, and what is your favorite food?
Oh, my favorite food is whatever I have at dinner time. No, I don't know. Probably spaghetti and meatballs, because I'm Eddie Spaghetti,
I like a spaghetti and meatballs. Okay, so we did the review. So one last time, I want you to tell everybody how to reach you, all the ways that they can reach you. So everything's in the show notes.
Absolutely. So I am Ed Middlebrooks. You can reach me, download my V card at edrocks360.com. Or if you have a house for sale, you can go to fullpriceforyourhouse.com, because I'm the owner of fullpriceforyourhouse.com, and you can submit your information there. If you are interested in learning more about our private membership associations, you can go to our advocacy site called hostingrights.us. All of these sites are right there as links inside of edrocks360.com. That's how you get in touch with me.
I love it. You are just a plethora of information. I love that. Do you have a podcast?
I have been debating starting one, yes, but I don't have one, no.
Okay, so folks, when he gets one, you'll see me as a guest on his. So I always like to tell everyone at the end, if you like the show today, if you learned anything, if you had a good time, go to find Ed and find him on social media. Go to Dwanderful.com, opt in. You get 4 free ebooks. Anywhere that podcasts are heard, my show is there. So I always ask you to do me a favor and leave a 5-star review and write something really nice. And on the days when I'm just teaching myself, we read some of the reviews. So if you want a chance to have your review read, you actually have to leave one. And all of us that teach, I mean, obviously, we make money doing what we do, but to take the time to write programs and build systems and teach other people, it is a labor of love. And you have to really, I'm sure you'll agree, you have to have a lot of patience to want to work and train and teach and help bring other people up behind you. But the sign of a good mentor, a good person, is that they bring people up behind them and they take what they do and they spread it around. And so you want to work with Ed, and you want to also work with me too. Okay, last thing. I want a parting word of wisdom, but it only has to be one single word.
Learn.
Okay. So folks, learn That's a good word. You're the first one that ever gave that word learn.
Well, knowledge is power.
Knowledge
but
is power.
it's not just itself, it's the application of knowledge. That's what creates the power.
Yep, it does. So I love it. Yeah, you're the very first person that gave the word learn. And if you want to see, buy those snappy shirts like Ed has. My Ed and my husband are big fans of Robert Graham shirts. So you all start making a little money, treat yourselves to some really nice shirts. Go to robertgraham.us. I'm gonna throw in a plug for Robert Graham. Maybe he'll send us some free shirts.
Hey, maybe we'll have you on their podcast, right?
That's right. I need to get on the Robert Graham podcast. So, all right, folks. Ed, thank you for being on. I appreciate you. I love your heart so much. I have
Thank you so much.
so many notes. I couldn't even read all my notes. So great what you
Oh,
did.
I have had a wonderful time. Absolutely
right.
wonderful.
It's been wonderful. All right, guys. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And remember that the truth is in the red letters. Okay, everyone. Ciao. Ed, thank you. And we'll be back next week.